well by doing good. It's a phrase we hear tossed around constantly, isn't it?
Oh, all the time.
It's in boardrooms, it's on glossy brochures, mission statements. It's almost become a cliche.
Right. It's a corporate platitude. It usually means something like, we donated 1% of our profits to a charity we like, and, that's that.
Exactly. But today, we're going to try and strip away the buzzwords. We're going to look at a company that is actually living on that razor's edge.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, trying to change the world on a really massive scale, while also keeping the lights on, keeping the servers running, and, keeping investors happy.
That is the ultimate balancing act. And frankly, it's where the most interesting and definitely the most difficult business models are being built right now. We aren't just talking about corporate social responsibility or CSR, where the impact is sort of a side hustle.
Right, an afterthought.
Exactly. We're talking about a fundamental business model where the social impact is the product. If the product doesn't change a life, the business fails. It's that intertwined.
Precisely. And today, we are doing a deep dive into a company called English Helper. They're a B2B organization, and they operate right at that intersection of technology, education, and social impact.
Oh.
And let me tell you, the source material we have for this deep dive is fascinating. It is not just a press release or some marketing copy.
So what are we working with?
We are working from a transcript of a very specific, very high-level webinar conversation. It was between the executive leadership of English Helper and the leadership of an organization called X Culture.
And we have to pause right there. That connection to X Culture is absolutely vital.
You think so?
I know so. We cannot understand the mission of this deep dive or what the company is trying to do without understanding the vehicle that's driving it.
You're absolutely right. Before we even get to the tech or, the English teaching, we need to set that stage. This deep dive is heavily informed by this X Culture project. Now, for anyone who is maybe uninitiated or perhaps for someone who just stumbled onto this stream, we need to be crystal clear about what X Culture is. Is it a class? Is it a consulting firm? What is it?
It's both, and it's also neither. X Culture is the world's largest platform dedicated to international business collaboration.
The world's largest.
The world's largest. I mean, we are talking about a logistical marvel that brings together thousands of students from hundreds of universities in dozens of countries and across all 6 continents.
Wow. It sounds like the United Nations of business schools.
In a way it is, but unlike the UN, they move very, very fast.
Yeah.
The model is brilliant in its simplicity, but you can imagine incredibly complex to execute.
So how does it work?
Real companies like English Helper, who we're talking about today, they harness this massive global network of MBA and business students.
Okay, they tap into them. For what?
For everything. To conduct market research, to identify brand new opportunities, generate bright ideas, and even develop marketing and product designs.
I want to push on that for a second because a skeptic might be listening and saying, okay, so it's a bunch of students. Why would a serious company like English Helper rely on students instead of, hiring a heavy-hitting firm like McKinsey or BCG?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? And the answer lies in what they call the consulting crowdsourcing model.
Consulting crowdsourcing.
Yeah, think about what Wikipedia did to the Encyclopedia Britannica.
Okay.
Britannica had a few hundred of the world's absolute best experts writing articles. Wikipedia, on the other hand, had millions of passionate amateurs and semi-pros. Who won?
Wikipedia, by a mile.
Right, because they distributed the brain power. X Culture does exactly that for business consulting.
So it's about the volume of ideas.
It's about volume and perspective. It's critical. Dr. Vastaras, who is the founder of X Culture, and we really owe him a huge thank you for organizing the webinar and leading this whole project, he often uses this quote.
What's that?
2 heads are better than 1, but 2,000 heads are better than 2.
That makes perfect sense in theory. But give me a practical example. Why is a student in Bogota, Colombia, better than a consultant sitting in a skyscraper in Boston?
Because the consultant in Boston can only read reports about Bogota.
Right.
The student in Bogota buys coffee there. They take the bus. They know the rhythm of the street. X Culture's global consulting crowd has global expertise locally.
Global expertise locally. I like that.
That is the key phrase. When English Helper wants to expand into, say, Vietnam or Peru or Uzbekistan, they don't want a report from a guy in New York guessing what the market is like.
No, they want the real story.
They want the person who lives there. That is why companies from all around the world come to X Culture for help. They get access to thousands of boots on the ground who can perform these market research tasks much better than professional consultants simply because they are embedded in those target markets.
Okay, I'm sold on the premise. It's a powerful model. So we have this massive distributed army of researchers, the X-Culture students. And today we are analyzing the mission briefing they received from their client, English Helper.
That's it.
Let's introduce the cast of characters from that webinar, because understanding who is speaking really helps us understand the company's DNA.
Right. So leading the charge, as we mentioned, is Dr. Bastaris. He's the interviewer and the founder of X-Culture. He's the one guiding the students, asking those probing questions to really extract the information that the students are going to need.
And then on the company side, we have 3 heavy hitters.
Yeah.
And this is not your typical corporate lineup.
Not at all.
First is Mr. Deepak Varma. He's the company founder and CEO. His background is, well, eclectic, is doing a lot of heavy lifting here. It's fascinating.
It really is. Deepak isn't a lifelong academic or an educator. He comes from a background in high-level consulting and the tech sector. He was involved with a company way back during the dot-com era, roughly 1999 to 2000, that actually became a unicorn.
Wow. So he's seen that hyper growth.
He's seen it firsthand. He knows what it looks like when a company just takes off like a rocket.
But he didn't stay in that tech bubble, did he?
No. And this is so crucial for understanding the social impact side of English Helper. He pivoted. He spent years in the nonprofit world working with the Clinton Foundation on HIV/AIDS initiatives in Africa and Southeast Asia.
That's a huge shift.
A huge shift. He also worked in renewable energy. So you have this leader who understands the, ruthless efficiency of tech, but who also understands the messy human reality of deep on-the-ground development work.
That seems like the perfect skill set for a company trying to teach English to the developing world.
Yeah.
So who else was on the call?
Then we have Mrs. Hema Murthy, who is the VP of Content.
Okay.
Hema is based in India, and she is really the intellectual anchor here. She leads the product and the content teams. Her entire focus is on learning science. She's the one making sure the software doesn't just look cool, but that it actually, rewires your brain to learn a language.
The pedagogy.
Yeah.
How?
Exactly. And rounding out the trio is Mr. Emile Kuruvilla, the VP of Business Development and Marketing.
And his background.
Emile comes from a background in global foundations. He told the students he joined English Helper specifically because he wanted to find that sweet spot, that intersection of combining technology with real, measurable impact.
So this is not a team of sharks just looking for a quick exit strategy.
Not at all. You have a very mission-driven leadership team.
Okay, let's get into the meat of it. Part 1, the company profile and its history. Because English Helper didn't just appear out of nowhere last year with some, AI wrapper.
No, they've been at this for over a decade.
And to understand where they are going, and more importantly, what the students need to help them with, you have to look at where they started.
That's right. We can call this the Product 1.0 era. It started about 10 years ago with a product they called Read Tome.
Read Tome.
Oh.
Sounds simple enough. What was the specific problem they were trying to solve back then?
The problem was very specific to the Indian education system, but it really applies to many developing nations. Students in government schools, so public schools, they could often read and write a little bit of English.
They could decode the text.
Exactly. If you wrote down, "The cat sat on the mat," they knew what it meant, but they had almost zero confidence in spoken English.
That is such a classic problem in language learning. I took years of French in high school. I knew the grammar, but if a French person actually said bonjour, I would just freeze.
Exactly. It's the passive knowledge trap. They could decode, but they couldn't comprehend fluently or speak with any confidence.
So what did English Helper do?
They created a software solution for K-12 classrooms. And you have to remember, this is 10 years ago.
Right. Different world.
A totally different world. No high-speed internet in rural villages, no iPads for every student. This was a low-tech environment.
So how did it work then?
It was ingenious in its constraints. It took the existing textbook, not a new special book, but the actual state-mandated textbook the class was already using.
Oh, that's smart.
It is, and the software would read that textbook aloud with correct accents. The entire class would read along in a chorus, and then they would read alone. It was a multi-sensory experience.
So you see the word, you hear the word, and you say the word.
Exactly. It's like a high-tech version of the teacher saying, "Repeat after me," but it's consistent every single time. And the accent is perfect every single time.
And it's scalable.
Massively scalable. They reached over 100,000 schools and 20 million students, primarily in India.
20 million.
20 million students. That is more than the population of many countries.
Wow.
But as Deepak Varma explained in the webinar, the world changed drastically in those 10 years.
Oh, absolutely. 10 years ago, reliable internet in a rural school in India was a complete dream.
Today, we have internet ubiquity, device proliferation, and this massive cloud infrastructure. Even in low-income areas, people have smartphones. This huge shift allowed English Helper to evolve into what we can call Product 2.0.
And what is that?
The current platform is known as the Reading and Comprehension Assistant, or RCA.
And this isn't just about reading aloud anymore, I'm guessing. This sounds like a much bigger beast.
It's much, much bigger. This is a full-stack solution. They target foundational literacy across the board: listening, speaking, reading, and writing.
The 4 pillars.
The 4 pillars. But here is where it gets really interesting conceptually. I want to highlight a philosophical point that Deepak made during the webinar.
Okay.
He argues that in today's rapidly changing world, the old model of go to school, learn a trade, and do that trade for 40 years.
Yeah.
That's dead.
I think most of us feel that anxiety every day. Skills become obsolete so fast. You learn to code in one language, and 2 years later, some AI is doing it for you.
Exactly. So Deepak says the only durable skill for a professional life is the ability to learn. If you can learn, you can adapt. And what is the operating system for learning in the global economy?
It's English.
It's English. It is the repository of global knowledge. If you want to learn advanced coding, the documentation is in English. If you want to read the latest medical journals, they are published in English.
So English isn't just another language.
No, it's the key to the library. That philosophy is what drives the 2 core streams of their current business.
Okay, let's break those down. You said 2 streams. What's the first one?
Stream 1 is skill building. This is what we would typically think of. It's pure English language acquisition.
So learning the grammar, the vocabulary, the pronunciation. This is a table that is a chair?
Yeah, the standard stuff.
Okay, but stream 2.
Stream 2 is knowledge acquisition. And this is fascinating. This is where I think the real magic lies. They use the platform to help people learn specific subjects like nursing, hotel management, history, hospitality, even if their English isn't strong yet.
Wait, hold on. That sounds completely contradictory. If I don't know English well, how am I going to learn complex nursing concepts from an English textbook? Wouldn't I just be confused by both the medicine and the language?
And that is the exact barrier they are breaking. The platform is designed to reduce the cognitive load. They have support for 60 mother tongues. So imagine you're a student in rural India. You speak Hindi. You want to be a nurse. The textbook is, of course, in English. The RCA platform presents the English text, but you can instantly get translations, explanations, and context in Hindi.
So I'm understanding the concept of, say, intravenous therapy, my native Hindi, while I'm seeing the official terminology in English.
Precisely. You are learning the subject matter while you are improving your English. You don't have to wait 3 years to master English before you can even start your professional training.
You do them in parallel.
You do them in parallel. It just accelerates economic mobility.
That is huge. It basically democratizes professional education. You don't have to be fluent just to start learning a trade.
Correct. And that leads us directly to the technology that makes this all possible. Because when we say language learning app, our brains, they immediately go to the big green owl. We think Duolingo.
Right. Or maybe Grammarly for writing. If I'm an investor or one of these X-Culture students doing a SWOT analysis, I'm asking, how is English Helper different from Duolingo? Duolingo is a massive public company.
The host in the webinar asked this exact question, and the differentiation is really stark. First, it's the scope.
Right.
Most competitors focus on just one slice. Duolingo is great for vocabulary and gamified engagement. It's fun, it's addictive. Grammarly is fantastic for writing and syntax.
But English Helper.
They cover the full spectrum: listening, speaking, reading, writing. But the bigger difference is the rigor. Deepak emphasized this. This isn't just for travel or for fun. It's not about learning how to order a beer in Barcelona or ask where the bathroom is.
Right.
It's about getting proficiency to, as he put it, crack Shakespeare or get a high-level corporate job. It's academic and professional rigor.
So Duolingo is like casual gaming and English Helper is professional training.
That's a really fair analogy, and that core difference dictates who they sell to.
Which
they are B2B and B2G, business to business and business to government. They do not sell directly to consumers.
So I can't just go to the App Store and buy a subscription for myself.
Generally, no. They sell to institutions, to entire school systems, colleges, corporations.
Which gives them a huge data advantage, doesn't it? If I'm Duolingo, I know what I'm doing on the app, but I don't know what my neighbor's doing or my whole city.
Exactly. Because English Helper sells to, say, a state government or a large school district, they build these incredible dashboards.
What do they show?
A state education minister in India can look at a dashboard and see real-time engagement data for the entire state, and then drill down to the district, then the school, all the way down to the individual student's progress.
Duolingo doesn't provide a state government with that kind of macro-level policy data.
Not at all. They are selling a systemic solution, not just an app.
That's a total game changer for policymakers.
Oh.
Now, we have to talk about the elephant in the room, the tech stack. Everyone, and I mean everyone, is talking about AI right now.
Yeah.
ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude. Is English Helper just wrapping a pretty skin around ChatGPT?
This is probably the most critical technical point for the students to understand, and Deepak was very, very specific about this.
Okay.
They do not use generative AI or large language models, LLMs like ChatGPT, for their core offering.
Really? That seems almost counterintuitive in 2026.
Yeah.
If you're an ed tech company, aren't you supposed to be riding the Gen AI wave? Why not?
Because in education, truth matters more than creativity. LLMs are prone to hallucinations.
They make things up.
They make things up. They are designed to predict the next plausible word, not necessarily the true word.
Right. If I ask ChatGPT to write a poem about a cat in space, I don't care if it lies. But if I'm learning history...
Exactly. Or nursing. Like, think about our nursing student example. If you are using a generative AI tutor, it might, like a creative writing student, invent a medical procedure that sounds perfectly plausible but doesn't actually exist.
That's a hallucination.
And in education, that is incredibly dangerous. You cannot have a nurse learning to insert an IV based on a hallucination. You need transparency and explainability.
So what do they use instead? If it's not generative, what kind of AI is it?
They use proprietary AI based on NLP, natural language processing, and computational linguistics. And it is extractive, not generative.
Okay, explain the difference.
Yeah.
Extractive versus generative.
Think of generative AI as a creative writer. It reads a book, and then it writes a brand new story based on the vibe of that book.
Okay.
Now think of extractive AI as a super intelligent highlighter pen. It scans the existing trusted textbook, say a biology textbook from a publisher like Macmillan, and it highlights the complex words, it pronounces them for you, it defines them, and it translates them.
I see. So it never creates new text.
Yeah.
It only illuminates the text that is already there, that's already been vetted.
Precisely. It illuminates the truth that is already there.
Yeah.
It is deterministic. If the textbook says the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell, the AI will help you understand that sentence. It won't invent a new organelle called the flubinator.
That makes so much sense. It completely solves the trust problem that schools and governments have with AI.
It does. And there's another innovation here that Hema Murthy, the VP of Content, pointed out. And it's crucial for their target markets. It's a low-resource innovation.
Low resource. So that means it works when the tech isn't perfect, when you don't have the latest iPhone and 5G.
Exactly. It means they understand their users often have spotty internet and cheap devices, so the app works offline.
Offline? How?
Students can download a chunk of content when they have Wi-Fi, maybe at school. They go home where they might have no signal at all, work on their bite-sized lessons, and then the next time they connect, it syncs all that data back to the cloud.
That's brilliant.
And it's device agnostic. It works on browsers, cheap Android phones, laptops, you name it. It's built for the reality of the developing world, not just for the high-speed bubble of Silicon Valley.
That brings us perfectly to part 3. Operations and strategy. We know what they built. We know why they built it. Now, who is paying for it?
As we mentioned, it's B2B and B2G. They target what they call pools of learners.
Pools of learners.
So schools, colleges, corporations, and governments. Their home base is heavily in India, where they have these massive partnerships with state governments like Punjab.
But the X-Culture students aren't just looking at India. The challenge is global. So where else are they applying?
They mentioned a really broad global footprint, Turkey, Central Asia, and they were very specific about Uzbekistan, Europe, the USA, and Latin America, specifically mentioning Chile, Peru, and Brazil.
Can we pause on that Uzbekistan example for a second? I found that absolutely fascinating in the transcript.
Right.
It almost felt like a geopolitical thriller for a moment.
It's a perfect case study of how macroeconomics drives the need for education. I call this the resource language link. Uzbekistan has rare earth metals.
Which are basically the oil of the 21st century.
Exactly. We need them for EV batteries, for microchips, for defense systems. The entire world is desperate for what is in the ground in Uzbekistan. This makes the country a global hotspot for business.
But rocks in the ground don't equal money.
Not until you can negotiate contracts with Tesla or Apple or Samsung, and guess what language those contracts are written in?
English.
Precisely. And the engineers who are coming to build the mines and the processing plants, they speak English. So to integrate into the global supply chain, the local population needs to speak English.
So it becomes a national imperative.
Suddenly, it's a top-down national imperative from the government down to learn English to capitalize on their own natural resources. And that is where English Helper steps in.
That is such a cool connection. It shows how English isn't just a language. It's a piece of national infrastructure. It's just as important as the roads and the power lines.
And English Helper is positioning itself as the builder of that very specific, very valuable infrastructure.
So if they are building infrastructure for entire nations, how do they price it? Do they charge a massive premium?
This gets right back to that impact first for-profit tension, and Deepak was very honest and open about this.
Okay.
Their core philosophy is to maximize reach, not just margins. They don't want to say no to a school district just because of a lack of funds.
But they can't just give it away for free, right? They're not a nonprofit.
No, and they learned that the hard way. In their early days, they were actually too altruistic. We'll get to that in the advice section later. But now they have very flexible pricing. They have standard price lists for, the US or Europe where budgets are higher.
But they adapt for other markets.
They completely tailor the deals for developing markets. It's not one size fits all.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Maybe the institution pays a base fee, and then individual students can pay a small amount for premium upgrades. Or maybe a corporate sponsor pays for an entire school district as part of their CSR budget. It's about creative deal-making.
And their content strategy seems to support this flexibility. They describe themselves as content agnostic.
This is a major, major competitive advantage. Just imagine you're a sales rep for a typical ed tech company.
Okay.
You walk into a university and you say, "Hi, you should buy my amazing software, but by the way, you have to throw out your textbook and use my proprietary one."
The professor's going to hate you. They love their current textbook. They've built their entire course around it for the last 10 years.
Right. You're asking them to change their entire curriculum. That's a huge point of friction. It makes the sale so much harder.
So what does English Helper do?
English Helper says, no, keep your textbook. We love your textbook. We will ingest your content, whether it's from Wiley, Macmillan, or your own university lecture notes, and we will wrap our AI learning aids around your material.
That lowers the friction for a sale almost to zero. You aren't replacing their curriculum. You are supercharging it.
Exactly. You become an additive partner, not a disruptive replacement.
Okay, now we get to the part of the show that is specifically for the X-Culture students listening in. If you're driving, maybe pull over for a second.
Yeah.
If you're multitasking, stop. This is part 4, the X-Culture Challenge. This is your mission briefing.
The goal here is, on the surface, very simple. Help English Helper scale to millions more learners. But the execution is where the real challenge lies.
Let's break it down into tasks. Task 1 is all about identifying the who.
Right. Who is the actual decision maker? And students, please do not underestimate how hard this question is. Deepak noted that in India, decisions are often centralized and made at the state level. You sell to the state government and boom, you get thousands of schools. Simple. But in the U.S.
Oh, the U.S. is a complete mess of decentralization.
It is hyper-decentralized. Is the decision maker the principal, the school district superintendent, the PTA, the State Board of Education? It could be any of them.
Or in higher ed, is it the provost, the dean of a specific college, the head of the ESL department?
And in a corporation, is it the head of learning and development, the HR director, or maybe the chief innovation officer?
So the mission for the students is to play detective in their own backyard.
Yes. The assignment involves getting out of the building, or at least out of the library. You need to conduct research in your specific local market, whether that's Bogota or Hanoi or Berlin, to find out who actually signs the check for this kind of software.
And once they find that person, the students need to try and interview them.
Yes, you have to ask them, how do you buy software? What is your procurement cycle? Do you buy in June at the end of the school year or in December before the new budget? What are you using right now? And have you ever even heard of English Helper?
That research is invaluable. And that leads directly to task 2, the how, the marketing channels.
And you have to remember the constraint here. English Helper is a young, lean company. They do not have the budget for Super Bowl ads.
Right.
They do not have millions to burn on brand awareness. They need low-cost, high-impact channels.
So students need to be really creative. Just writing buy Facebook ads in your report is not a good answer.
Buy Facebook ads is the lazy answer. Emil Kuruvilla, the VP of marketing, he emphasized this. He wants ingenuity. He wants you to find the side doors.
Like what?
Are there specific conferences where these decision makers congregate? Are there niche industry mailing lists they all subscribe to? Online communities on LinkedIn? Or specialized forums for, say, ESL teachers?
What about partnerships? That seems like a good angle.
That is a fantastic avenue. Are there local textbook publishers who already have the relationships with all the schools? Can English Helper partner with them? If you are a student in Brazil, you know who the big textbook publisher is in Brazil. English Helper sitting in India might not. You need to tell them.
Okay, that makes sense. And task 3 is competition analysis. But again, not the obvious stuff.
Correct. Please do not write a 10-page report on Duolingo. English Helper knows about Duolingo.
So what do they need?
They need students to find the local competitors. Who is the local edtech player in Vietnam or Turkey that English Helper would never see from their office?
The boots on the ground intel.
Exactly. Find them. Interview them. Be discreet, of course. You can call them up and ask for their pricing sheet. Pretend you're a potential customer. Find out their sales model. That is the kind of market research that is incredibly valuable.
And here is the kicker. The real-life challenge. This is not just a theoretical paper that gets a grade and then gets thrown away.
This is the most exciting part for me. If I were a student doing this project, I would be all over this. The company is offering a commission structure.
Wait, you mean actual money?
Actual money. If an X-Culture student generates a real business lead, if they get a letter of intent from a school or set up a serious meeting with a key decision maker, they can earn an aftermarket commission on the first contract.
That is absolutely incredible. A student could literally pay for their degree or launch their entire career based on this one project.
They could effectively become the English Helper representative in their country. It's a direct path from the classroom to employment and entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
You aren't just writing a case study, you are literally auditioning for a partnership.
That raises the stakes significantly. And speaking of entrepreneurship, let's move to part 5, executive wisdom. The team shared some really valuable advice for the future, not just about English Helper, but about career paths in general.
Right. Deepak Varma reflected on his own transition from the corporate world to entrepreneurship. Remember, he was a unicorn tech guy. He could have retired and sat on a yacht.
But he didn't. Why?
He identified 2 core values that drive him: intellectual engagement and purpose.
He had a great line about tax preparation.
He did. He said, I could not be a tax preparer. And look, no offense to tax preparers, we need you. But for someone like Deepak, the idea of doing the same thing every year, filling out the same forms, would drive him crazy. He needs the chaos of creation.
He also listed 2 traits he thinks make a great entrepreneur. The first one was curiosity.
Curiosity. It has to pull you in. You have to genuinely want to know how the machine works, why people buy things, what makes a system tick.
And the second one, I love this phrase, clarity in ambiguity.
Clarity and ambiguity. It sounds like something you'd see on a motivational poster, but let's unpack it. What does it actually mean for a CEO on a Tuesday morning?
Yeah, what's the reality of it?
It means that when you have conflicting data, your bank account is low, but your user engagement is high, your lead developer just quit, and a competitor just launched a new feature, you don't freeze.
You can't.
You don't wait for perfect information because you will never, ever get it. Life is messy. Startups are incredibly messy.
So what's the job?
The entrepreneur's job isn't to prevent the chaos. It's to build a structure that can survive the chaos long enough to find a profit model. It's about organizing that chaos. That's the real job.
And they were also very honest about their own mistakes. I always appreciate when leaders do that. It's so easy to just talk about the wins.
It is. And Deepak admitted that in the early days of English Helper, they were too altruistic. They did those massive implementations, reaching those 20 million students we talked about, largely for free because the schools just had no budget.
That sounds so noble, though. We are doing it for the kids.
It is noble, but it's not sustainable. If you run out of money, the servers turn off, and then nobody learns English. The lesson was brutal but simple. You cannot sustain impact if you go broke.
So what's the advice they give now?
His advice is, don't do it for free, but take minimum margins to maximize reach. Find that perfect price point that keeps the lights on but allows you to reach the poorest student in the most remote village. That is the sweet spot.
That's a hard-earned lesson. And finally, there was Emil's point on marketing,
Right. Keep customer acquisition costs low. Use ingenuity, not money.
which is exactly why they are coming to X-Culture in the first place.
Yeah.
They're looking for that student ingenuity. They want the guerrilla marketing ideas that a big, expensive agency would never even think of. So let's wrap this up. We have a company, English Helper, that is using proprietary, explainable, extractive AI to teach English as a fundamental life skill, a tool for global mobility.
And they are looking to expand globally, but they need to navigate this incredibly complex web of B2B and B2G decision makers in dozens of different countries.
And they are asking the X-Culture students to be their scouts, to use their global expertise locally to find those decision makers, figure out how to reach them cheaply, and uncover the local competition that's flying under the radar.
It's a real challenge with real stakes.
So to the students listening, this is your chance. You know your home market better than anyone in Boston or India does. Go conduct those interviews. Find the person who signs the checks. Don't just Google it. Pick up the phone and call someone.
And remember, there is a real potential career on the table here. If you connect the dots, if you bring a legitimate lead to the table, you are not just getting a grade on a paper. You're building a business. You are demonstrating your value to a global company that's hiring.
One final logistical note. If you have questions during the project, remember to contact the X-Culture team. The email is admin@xculture.org.
Yes, please do not spam the CEO directly. Deepak and Hima and Emil are very busy running the company.
Let the X-Culture team triage the questions. Be professional. Treat this like the real consulting gig that it is.
Right. Show them you are ready for the professional world.
This has been a really fascinating deep dive into a company that is truly trying to do well by doing good and, importantly, doing it smartly. Thanks for listening, and good luck with the challenge.
Good luck, everyone. Go make an impact.
Catch you on the next deep dive.